Ahead of the United Nations UN General Assembly slated for September 2025, the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, on Thursday issued a statement and said that France will recognize the State of Palestine at the UN coming meeting of heads of states as a way to put an end to the war in Gaza so that the civilian populations in the Palestinian city can be rescued, also describing the move as France's historical commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, within an hour issued a counter-press statement and said that the State of Israel condemned the decision of France's president to recognize the State of Palestine, stressing that such move by France rewards terror and risks creating another Iran Proxy that will be a launch pad to annihilate Israel. According to the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, true to its historic commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East, I have decided that France will recognize the State of Palestine. I will make the solemn announcement at the United Nations General Assembly next September. The urgency is today for the war in Gaza to end and the civilian population to be rescued. Peace is possible. There is an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages and massive humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. We must also guarantee the demilitarization of Hamas, secure and rebuild Gaza. At last, it is necessary to build the State of Palestine, ensure its viability and allow that by accepting its demilitarization and fully acknowledging Israel, it participates in the safety of everyone in the Middle East. There is no alternative. The French want peace in the Middle East. It is up to us, the French, together with Israelis, the Palestinians, our European and international partners, to demonstrate that it is possible. In light of the commitments that the President of the Palestinian Authority made to me, I wrote to him my determination to move forward. Trust, clarity and commitment. We will win peace, the French President stated. In a swift reaction, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reacted and said, "We strongly condemn President Macron's decision to recognize a Palestinian state next to Tel Aviv in the wake of the October 7th massacre. Such a move rewards terror and risks creating another Iranian proxy, just as Gaza became. A Palestinian state in these conditions would be a launch pad to annihilate Israel, not to live in peace beside it. Let's be clear, the Palestinians do not seek a state alongside Israel, they seek a state instead of Israel." Meanwhile, it would be recalled that Daily Sabah news media on May 28, 2025 reported that Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto said he would consider diplomatic ties with Israel only if it recognized a Palestinian state, speaking during talks with French President Emmanuel Macron in Jakarta. Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim majority nation, has no formal ties with Israel and has consistently called for a two-state solution to the decades-long conflict. On various occasions, I have said that Indonesia sees the two-state solution and the freedom of Palestine is the only way to achieve the true peace, he told a news conference. I also emphasized that we must acknowledge and guarantee Israel's rights as a sovereign country that must be paid attention to and guaranteed safety. Indonesia has stated that once Israel recognizes Palestine, Indonesia is ready to recognize Israel and open the diplomatic relationship. In a joint statement, France and Indonesia called for progress on mutual recognition between Israel and the Palestinians at an international conference meant to resurrect the idea of a two-state solution next month, June 2025, which Paris will co-chair. The conference should restore a political prospect of a peaceful settlement of this conflict, which should allow for an irreversible path toward the realization of a Palestinian state, and mutual recognition between Israel and Palestine, they said. Support for the Palestinian cause runs high in Indonesia and the issue regularly prompts protests. In 2023, FIFA stripped Indonesia as the Under-20 World Cup hosts after some prominent politicians called for Israel to be kicked out of the tournament and refused to host its team. On the other hand, Al Jazeera on the 18th of July 2024 reported that Israel's parliament has passed a resolution that overwhelmingly rejected the establishment of a Palestinian state, Israeli media reported. The resolution passed in the Knesset with 68 votes in favor and just 9 against it early on Thursday. It said that a Palestinian state would pose an existential danger to the state of Israel and its citizens, perpetuate the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and destabilize the region. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition with far-right parties co-sponsored the resolution. Opposition leader Yair Lapid's center-left party left the session to avoid supporting the statement, despite previously saying he favored a two-state solution, the Times of Israel newspaper reported. Mustafa Barghouti, the Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative, slammed the passing of the resolution. No Zionist party from both the government and the opposition voted against the resolution, he wrote on X. This resolution represents a rejection of peace with Palestinians and an official declaration of the death of the Oslo Agreement, Barghouti posted. The Oslo Accords, which were first signed between Palestinian and Israeli leaders in 1993, called for a viable and sovereign Palestinian state living side by side with an Israeli state. But Israel has continued to adopt policies such as building illegal settlements on Palestinian lands across the occupied West Bank and a complete blockade of Gaza. Palestinian Authority official Hussein al-Sheikh condemned the resolution on social media, saying the Knesset's rejection confirms the racism of the occupying state and its disregard for international law and international legitimacy, and its insistence on the approach and policy of perpetuating the occupation forever. Jordan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the resolution's approval was a dangerous violation of international law. Israel's continued efforts to deny the Palestinians inalienable right to their independent and sovereign state along the lines of June 4, 1967, with occupied Jerusalem as its capital, does not bring security and peace in the region, read a statement citing the ministry's spokesperson Sufyan al-Quda. The Times of Israel quoted the resolution as saying, "It will only be a matter of a short time until Hamas takes over the Palestinian state and turns it into a radical Islamic terror base, working in coordination with the Iranian-led Axis to eliminate the state of Israel." It added that a Palestinian state at this time would be a reward for terrorism and will only encourage Hamas and its supporters to see this as a victory, referring to the Hamas-led attacks on October 7 in southern Israel that triggered the current conflict. The decision, however, is not new for the Knesset, which has previously rejected Palestinian statehood. A growing number of countries have recognized Palestinian statehood, including Spain, Slovenia, Norway, Ireland and others. The resolution comes as Netanyahu is expected to address the United States Congress next week in Washington, D.C., which has caused divisions among Democratic Party lawmakers who have spoken out against Israel's conduct in its war on Gaza. On Wednesday, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that Israel's policy in the occupied West Bank was dooming any prospect of a two-state solution. Through administrative and legal steps, Israel is changing the geography of the West Bank, Guterres said in a statement read by his Chief of Staff, Courtney Rattray, during a meeting of the UN Security Council. Recent developments are driving a stake through the heart of any prospect for a two-state solution, he said. We must change course. All settlement activity must cease immediately. The UN chief added that the settlements were a flagrant violation of international law and an obstacle to peace with Palestinians.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Clearwater Police Department in Florida, United States has confirmed that World Wrestling Champion Terry Bollea aka Hulk Hogan died on Thursday morning around 11:17 a.m. after the personnel of the Clearwater City Fire and Police Departments responded to an emergency medical report at about 9:51 a.m. and administered first aid treatment of cardiac arrest to Hulk Hogan before he was rushed to Morton Plant Hospital where he was pronounced dead. According to the Clearwater Police Department in a video press briefing held a few hours ago, the Clearwater Fire Department and Clearwater Police Department personnel responded to a medical call at 9:51 a.m. today in the 1000 block of El Dorado Avenue on Clearwater Beach. The nature of the call was for a cardiac arrest. A 71-year-old resident, Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was treated by Clearwater Fire and Rescue crews before being taken by Sunstar to Morton Plant Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased. Major Nate Burnside briefed the press about the police and fire response to a medical call involving Terry Bolley, also known as Hulk Hogan. A video of the scene outside Hogan's residence shows responders desperately trying to save his life as he was transported to an ambulance. In the clip, several paramedics appear to be conducting chest compressions as Hogan is wheeled to the emergency vehicle. It may be recalled that a few weeks ago, Hogan's wife, Sky, whom he married in September 2023, denied rumors he was in a coma, stating his heart was strong as he recovered from surgeries. Some local media in the United States had reported last month that Hogan was on his deathbed, but the reports were denied with statements that as at the time he was just dealing with the symptoms of a neck procedure he underwent in May 2025. The global sports icon, Hulk Hogan, undoubtedly transformed professional wrestling into a family entertainment sports. Before Hulk, wrestling catered to a fairly narrow audience. Hulk's theatrics in the ring were magnetic for children and their parents, and it supercharged the sport. Hogan kickstarted a pop culture phenomenon with Hulkamania, after defeating the Iron Sheik for the World Heavyweight Championship in 1984, a craze that never went away, and his signature bandana and handlebar mustache were often copied by fans in crowds for decades. In 1996, Hulk created the NWO, New World Order, and became Hollywood Hulk Hogan. It propelled him and professional wrestling to even more fame. Hogan had countless iconic performances, which included a matchup against Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at WrestleMania X8 in 2002 and a face-off with Andre the Giant at WM3, and had memorable feuds with Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage. Hulk was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2005. He was removed in 2015 after a scandal erupted over racist comments while he was being secretly recorded during a sexual encounter. Gawker posted the clip and Hulk subsequently sued, winning the lawsuit. Hulk was inducted a second time in the WWE Hall of Fame in 2020, this time as a member of NWO. World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, released a statement on Hogan's death, saying, "One of pop culture's most recognizable figures, Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 1980s. WWE extends its condolences to Hogan's family, friends, and fans." Hulk was the star of the 2024 Republican National Convention, when he set the room ablaze with theatrics. Hulk had an amazingly successful movie career, beginning in 1982, with Rocky III, playing the iconic character Thunderlips. He also starred in No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, and Mr. Nanny, and there's more. Hogan starred in the hit VH1 reality show, Hogan Knows Best, with his family, Linda, Nick and Brooke. In details, WWE in a statement on its website said, "Legendary WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan passes away. WWE is saddened to learn that Terry Bolley, recognized globally as legendary WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan, has passed away on July 24 at 71. One of pop culture's most recognizable figures, Hogan helped WWE achieve global recognition with the Hulkamania craze of the 1980s and reignited sports entertainment's popularity in the 1990s through his leadership of the New World Order in WCW. Whether he was a hero or villain, clad in red and yellow or black and white, the Hulkster was always one of the ring's most popular and enduring stars. Hogan abandoned a career in music with his Tampa, Florida-based band, Ruckus, when he was discovered by WWE Hall of Famers Jack and Jerry Briscoe. In 1977, Hogan began training with Hiro Matsuda, who intentionally broke Hogan's lower leg just to see if he was passionate enough to return to training in the ring or would instead return to playing bass guitar. A year later, on August 10, 1977, Hogan had his first match against B. Brian Blair in Fort Myers, Florida, for Championship Wrestling from Florida. Hogan competed under a mask as Super Destroyer in Florida and then teamed with his friend Ed Leslie, who would become Brutus Beefcake, as brothers Terry and Ed Boulder in Alabama, Tennessee and Georgia. It was after appearing on a local talk show in Memphis with TV's Incredible Hulk, Lou Ferrigno, that he began calling himself Terry, the Hulk, Boulder because he was so much larger than Ferrigno. He first appeared in WWE in 1979 and was named Hulk Hogan by Vincent J. McMahon. As a villain, Hogan defeated the future $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase in his first match at Madison Square Garden, challenged Bob Backlund for the WWE Championship, and collided with Andre the Giant 8 years before WrestleMania 3 in August 1980 at New York City's Shea Stadium. After appearing in Rocky III, Hogan spent the next 3 years competing for Vern Ganzow and Antonio Inoki's New Japan Pro Wrestling. Hogan then made the move to WWE where he defeated the Iron Sheik to become WWE champion on January 23, 1984, beginning a pop culture craze that would be known as Hulkamania. For nearly a decade, WWE and Hulkamania's footprints grew together. WWE expanded to nationally syndicated television, then pay-per-view, with Hogan headlining in a litany of classics, including teaming with television's biggest star, Mr. T, at the first WrestleMania and defeating Andre the Giant in front of more than 93,000 fans at WrestleMania 3. All told, Hulk Hogan racked up an unprecedented 5 WWE championships, main-evented WrestleMania 8 times, and sold millions of t-shirts, toys and anything else you could imagine bearing the red and yellow before leaving WWE in August 1993. The Hulkster planned on putting his full-time sports entertainment days behind him and started a career as a television star on the syndicated Thunder in Paradise. However, it wasn't long until he was drawn into sports entertainment again, this time by Nature Boy, Ric Flair and new WCW executive producer Eric Bischoff. Using Turner Broadcasting's budget, Bischoff signed Hogan to a 7-figure, part-time contract. In his debut match, Hogan, with Mr. T in his corner and Shaquille O'Neal at ringside, defeated Flair for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship on the Bash at the Beach pay-per-view in Orlando, Florida. After 2 years of dominating his competition, Hogan did the unthinkable when he betrayed both WCW fans and WCW heroes Sting, Lex Luger and Randy Savage by joining the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, to form the New World Order. The NWO was WCW's greatest weapon in the Monday Night War, pitting WCW's Nitro against WWE's Monday Night Raw. During his 6 years with WCW, Hogan won 6 WCW World Heavyweight Championships. Almost 1 year after the demise of WCW, Hogan, Hall and Nash returned to WWE as the reviled NWO in February 2002. While his third stay in WWE lasted less than 2 years, Hogan was once again embraced by the WWE Universe during his match against The Rock at WrestleMania X8 and later won his 6th WWE Championship from Triple H at Backlash 2002. In 2005, the Hulkster was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by his Rocky III co-star and friend, Sylvester Stallone, and appeared at WrestleMania 21 the following night. In 2014, the Hulkster again returned to WWE and was the host of WrestleMania 30. The historic event began with Hogan, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, arguably the 3 most famous sports entertainers of all time, together in the ring to the delight of more than 75,000 WWE fans from all 50 states and 37 countries at New Orleans' Mercedes-Benz Superdome, with millions more watching the first WrestleMania to air live on WWE Network. There are few names more synonymous with sports entertainment than Hulk Hogan, as the larger-than-life icon was a central figure in WWE's rise from a regional attraction to the worldwide entertainment leader. The Hulkster's superhuman size and undeniable charisma helped him reach heights once unthinkable in sports and entertainment, as Hogan packed 93,173 fans into the Pontiac Silverdome for WrestleMania 3, won 6 WWE championships, starred in movies and set the standard for what a WWE superstar could be. WWE extends its condolences to Bollier's family, friends and fans, the World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE stated. What's amazing about Hulk? He had scores of surgeries as a result of wrestling injuries. He told Harvey during a taping of Objectified, he had no original body parts left.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Family of the late Nigeria former president, Muhammadu Buhari, on Sunday issued and released a letter of appreciation to people who sent in condolence messages after the former Nigeria president died on Sunday, July 13, 2025 at a London hospital, but the Buhari family mentioned several names they considered as notable people among those who sent in condolences, which some of them did not attend the burial ceremony and apparently ignored 3 former presidents of Nigeria that were major rivals to the late Muhammadu Buhari's presidency, despite the fact that former presidents Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, GEJ, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, IBB, and Olusegun Obasanjo, OBJ, were among the notable personalities in the society to send condolences early enough to the family and the nation at large exactly same day Buhari died, while OBJ personally issued video press release to mourn the death of Muhammadu Buhari. GEJ, after issuing condolence message, visited the family of late Buhari in London the next day to console with the bereaved family, and also, IBB, after mourning the demise of late President Muhammadu Buhari, sent his children led by Muhammad Babangida to Katsina State to pay the family and the people condolence visit over the death of the late former head of state, Muhammadu Buhari, that was ousted out of power as then Nigeria military head of state on August 27, 1985 by IBB in a bloodless coup that led to the arrest and detention of Buhari at a prison facility in Benin City for almost 3 years. Olusegun Obasanjo took over as Nigeria head of state in 1976 after Buhari's close associate in the Nigeria military, Murtala Muhammad, was assassinated on February 13, 1976, a military head of state which Buhari was part of the group of officers that overthrew the government of General Yakubu Gowon and installed the assassinated Murtala Muhammad as head of state after the late Murtala Muhammad led the 1966 Nigerian counter-coup in overthrowing the military regime of Johnson Aguiyi Ironsi and played a major role during the Nigerian Civil War and thereafter ruled Nigeria from the 29th of July 1975, during which he made Muhammadu Buhari became the first governor of Borno State following the division of the northeastern state into Bauchi, Borno, and Gongola states on February 3, 1976. After Obasanjo became military head of state, Buhari served as governor of Borno from February 3, 1976, to March 15, 1976. During the era of Murtala, Buhari was previously appointed as the governor of the northeastern state from August 1, 1975, to February 3, 1976 until the division of the northeastern state and the subsequent creation of 3 states from the region. Obasanjo was a major political contender to Buhari after Nigeria returned to civil rule in 1999. Obasanjo defeated Buhari in the 2003 election and led his political party candidates, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, to defeat Buhari in 2007, 2011 respectively, and in 2015, Obasanjo announced his neutrality in Nigeria politics following his resignation from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, ahead of the March 28, 2015 Nigeria general elections, and Buhari defeated the incumbent president Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to become Nigeria president in 2015 and subsequently re-elected for second tenure in 2019. According to Obasanjo, Buhari died at a time when Nigerians needed the totality of all those who have had experiences in running the affairs of the country in the past to bring their experiences and statesmanship out to salvage the current situation the country is faced with. Obasanjo, in the less than 2 minutes video press release condolence message, said that Buhari tried his best and was a big loss to the country, adding that it is his prayers that God should forgive Buhari his inadequacies and accept him into his kingdom. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, in a statement after visiting the Buhari family in London on July 14, 2025, said, "I joined other sympathizers to pay a condolence visit to the family of late former President Muhammad Buhari in London this evening. I also visited the Nigerian house where I met with members of the federal government delegation who have come to accompany the remains of the former president to Nigeria for burial, including Vice President H.E. Kashin Shettima, Chief of Staff to the President, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuggar. May Allah forgive the shortcomings of late President Buhari and grant him Al-Jannah Firdaus." On July 13, 2025, shortly after the announcement of Buhari's death, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan issued a statement and said, "It is with a heavy heart and profound sense of national loss that I received the news of the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who died at the age of 82. President Buhari was a notable leader, patriot, and elder statesman who served our beloved nation as both a military head of state and president, to the best of his abilities. He will be remembered as a courageous leader, a disciplined officer, and a committed public servant who made considerable contributions towards the peace and progress of our dear nation. The late president was deeply admired across the strata of society for his decency, integrity, and exemplary life of service. As a leader, he was selfless in his commitment to his duty and served the country with character and a deep sense of patriotism. In his passing, Nigeria has lost one of its foremost leaders, and I have lost a respected colleague and elder. His legacy will continue to endure in the hearts of all who value sacrifice, integrity, perseverance, and devotion to national ethos. On behalf of my family and the Goodluck Jonathan Foundation, I extend my heartfelt condolences to his immediate family, the good people of Katsina State, and all Nigerians who mourn this great loss. May Allah forgive his shortcomings, accept his good deeds, and grant him Jannatul Firdaus." This Day newspaper on July 13, 2025 reported that Nigeria, former military president, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, has paid glowing tribute to former President Muhammadu Buhari, who died on Sunday in London at the age of 82 years, describing his passage as the loss of a symbol. General Babangida, in the tribute he personally signed and titled, "Tribute to a Brother, Friend, and Patriot, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, in Minna, his country home, declared, "His, Buhari, passing today is not just the loss of a former head of state, or a two-term civilian president, it is the loss of a symbol, a man whose life embodied the transition of Nigeria from the old guard to the new republic. A man who, even in retirement, remained a moral compass to many, and an example of modesty in public life." According to Babangida, the late former president, Buhari, beyond the uniform and the public glare, was a deeply spiritual man, a man who found solace in faith, and who carried himself with the humility of someone who believed in a higher calling. "We may not have agreed on everything, as brothers often don't, but I never once doubted his sincerity or his patriotism," Babangida stated. Describing the deceased as, "my friend, my brother, my coursemate, and a fellow soldier in the journey of nationhood," Babangida said Buhari stood out, quiet yet resolute, principled yet humble, deeply patriotic and fiercely loyal to Nigeria. "Through the years, we shared trenches and trials, dreams and disappointments, victories and moments of reflection. Our bond was forged not only by military training, but by a shared commitment to the ideals of service, discipline, and love for country," he said. The former military president expressed his condolences to his beloved wife, Aisha, his children, grandchildren, and the nation he loved and served. He prayed Allah in his infinite mercy to forgive the deceased's shortcomings, accept his deeds, and grant him Al-Jannatul Firdaus. Days after Buhari was laid to rest, Babangida sent his children and other members of his family, led by Muhammad Babangida, on a condolence visit to Governor Dikko Umaru Radda at the government house in Katsina, following the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Speaking on behalf of the delegation, Chief Imam of the IBB Residence Mosque, Al-Haji Ibrahim Aliyu offered heartfelt prayers for the late president, describing him as a man of integrity whose life left a lasting impact on the nation. He prayed for Allah's mercy upon him and asked for strength and comfort for the people of Katsina State and Nigeria as a whole. Governor Rada thanked the delegation of former President IBB for their visit, noting the long-standing bond between former President Babangida, the late President Buhari, and Katsina State. He reaffirmed the deep sense of loss felt by the entire nation and emphasized the importance of unity and continued service to the people in honor of the late president's enduring legacy. The governor particularly prayed for former President Ibrahim Babangida's strong health in his continued service to the country. Muhammad Babangida was accompanied by his sister, Halima Babangida, a director at NEXIM Bank, Muhammad Haruna, Aminu Abubakar Al-Haji, and the chief imam of the IBB Residence Mosque, Al-Haji Ibrahim Aliyu. The late President Buhari family in a press release on Sunday as signed and made available to the public by the former presidential senior special assistant to Muhammadu Buhari on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, said, the most senior member of the Buhari family, the family of the late President, Muhammadu Buhari, Malam Maman Daura has, on behalf of the family expressed gratitude to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his wife, the First Lady, Senator Remi Tinubu for their role and that of government of the Federation before and after the passing of the former President. It is truly comforting to receive such support from the President and the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, who went to the United Kingdom, and here in Daura, for the days he and the ministers during the mourning period. These have instilled confidence in all of us to face this loss with courage. We are deeply grateful to the President on his thoughtful gestures in declaring a public holiday and renaming the University of Maiduguri after Buhari. Our gratitude also goes to leaders of the various countries around the globe who either came in person, sent representatives, sent letters, or placed personal telephone calls to commiserate with us. Of special note were those of the King of England, King Charles III, the Secretary-General of the United Nations, the Deputy Secretary-General, Amina Mohammed, the Chairman of the African Union, and that of the Committee of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS countries, and our former Head of State, Abdul Salami Abu Bakr. Muhammadu Buhari's demise is an irreparable loss and its pain is beyond words. But the general reaction and kind expressions give us the strength to cope with the loss of our esteemed family member and former leader of the country. The family is equally grateful to Vice President Kashim Shettima in his own person and his wife, and to all state governors, especially those of Katsina, the host governor Dr. Dikko Umar Rada, Professor Babagana Umar Azulam of Borno State and all those who visited us in the UK and Daura from Adamawa, Kano, Kwara, Lagos, Kaduna, Imo, Nasarawa, Bauchi, Sokoto, Kebbi as well as the several former governors, including Mr. Peter Obi for the compassionate words of condolence. Your empathy has touched our hearts deeply, and we are truly grateful for your kindness. We express our deep appreciations to former Vice Presidents Atiku Abubakar, Architect Namadi Sambo, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and Ambassador Babagana Kinjabe as well as to the President of Senate, Godswill Akpabio, the Speaker, House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin and the other leaders and members of the National and State Assemblies. We do sincerely thank the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, SGF, Senator George Akoum and his predecessor in office, Boss Mustafa, the current Chief of Staff, Honorable Femi Bajabiamila and his predecessor, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, former and serving members of the cabinet in both administrations for their activities in these events and the comforting words. We are very pleased with the amazing gestures of our traditional leaders, notably the Sultan of Sokoto, the Shehu of Borno, the Emir of Gwandu and the host Emirs of Katsina and Daura, as well as the various emirs and chiefs from all over Nigeria and the neighboring countries who came in person or sent representatives. We have been honored by the large turnout of religious leaders, Islamic, Christian and of other faiths, community leaders, women, youth and politicians of various leanings whose surge in Daura was both challenging and reassuring. The family in Daura is also thanking past and serving security and intelligence, police and military leaders, permanent secretaries, and the rank-and-file civil servants, community groups and associations, civil society, and the media. The family expresses its appreciation to the nation's business leaders who visited Daura in the persons of Al-Haji Aliko Dangote, Abdul Samad Isiaka Rabiu, Al-Haji Muhammadu Indimi, Al-Haji Dahiru Mangal, Kola Adesina and Nasiru Dano. We also take this opportunity to thank the entire citizens of this country and those of other nations represented by their missions in Nigeria. All of Nigeria came out in force to bury Buhari and condole with us and pray for him. We are deeply grateful for the visits, the condolence messages, and prayers on him.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
It has been a sad Monday in Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, as one of the Bangladesh Air Force training planes crashed on students while they were taking test examinations and some of them attending regular classes at Milestone School and College, with 19 victims already confirmed dead by local authorities while over 100 persons, mostly students, are hospitalized. The head of interim government of Bangladesh, Muhammad Yunus, has assured the public that the government of Bangladesh will carry out investigation to ascertain the cause of the military plane crash, as some of the victims were seen walking out from the burning flames with almost completely burnt bodies. It was gathered that the plane crashed immediately after takeoff around 1 p.m. local Bangladesh time, which was 7 o'clock a.m. GTM. According to Hindustan Times, a Bangladesh Air Force F-7BGI training aircraft crashed into a college campus in Dhaka, killing at least 19 and injuring over 100 people. Local media reported that the leaders and activists of Bangladesh Chitra League faced a brutal mob attack while donating blood to save the injured students of the Milestone School plane crash. Military and a fire official said the Bangladesh Air Force F-7BGI aircraft crashed into the campus of Milestone School and College in Dhaka's Uttara neighborhood on Monday afternoon, where students were taking tests or attending regular classes. Saidur Rahman, a National Burn Institute official in Dhaka, told Bangladesh's leading English daily, the Daily Star, reported that the death toll rose to 16 within hours as reported by CNN, and a few hours later, the Daily Star updated its reports to 19 confirmed dead and 100 persons injured. Parents and relatives panicked at the scene as rescuers, using tricycle rickshaws or whatever was available, transported the injured. Rafika Taha, a student at the school who was not present at the time of the crash, said, according to the Associated Press report, that Milestone School and College, with some 2,000 students, runs classes from elementary to 12th grade. On Monday, she said, some students were taking tests while others attended regular classes. I was terrified watching videos on TV, said the 16-year-old student. My God, it's my school. The Bangladesh Army's Public Relations Office confirmed in a brief statement that the downed F-7BGI aircraft belonged to the Air Force. Fire official Lima Khanum stated by phone that at least one person died and 4 others were injured, though she did not provide further details. A third-grade student was brought in dead, and 3 others, aged 12, 14 and 40, were admitted to the hospital. Bidhan Sarkar, head of the burn unit at the Dhaka Medical College and Hospital, where some victims were taken, said, according to Reuters news agency. Muhammad Yunus, head of Bangladesh's interim government, said, necessary measures would be taken to investigate the cause of the accident and ensure all kinds of assistance. The loss suffered by the Air Force, students, parents, teachers and staff, and others in this accident is irreparable, he said. Yunus also announced that an emergency hotline has been activated at the National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery in the wake of the crash. In quotes, Muhammad Yunus tweeted and said, an emergency hotline has been activated at the National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery due to urgent needs following the crash of a Bangladesh Air Force training aircraft at the Milestone School and College campus, resulting in casualties. Hotline number 01949043697. In the Diyarbakir area of the capital, at the Milestone School and College campus, a Bangladesh Air Force training aircraft crashed, resulting in casualties. The bodies of those whose identities can be confirmed will be handed over to their families as soon as possible. The bodies of those whose identities cannot be immediately confirmed will be identified through DNA testing and subsequently handed over to their families. The Honorable Chief Advisor is closely monitoring the treatment of the injured. To ensure uninterrupted medical operations, the general public is specially requested to avoid unnecessary crowding in the hospital area. I express my deep grief and sorrow over the tragic incident of casualties caused by the crash of a Bangladesh Air Force F-7BG training aircraft at the Milestone School and College campus in the Diyarbakir area of the capital today. The loss suffered by the Air Force, the students, parents, teachers, and staff of Milestone School and College, as well as others affected by this accident, is irreparable. This is a moment of profound pain for the nation. I pray for the speedy recovery of the injured and direct all concerned authorities, including hospitals, to address the situation with the utmost priority. The government will take necessary measures to investigate the cause of the accident and ensure all forms of assistance. The Bangladesh Red Crescent Society has called for donations for those injured.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.
As multiple wars in the Middle East appear unabated, Israel, the main defender and attacker on multiple waterfronts in the city of Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, Yemen and now Syria, has ordered the Israel Aerospace Industries, IAI, to mass-produce Arrow missiles interceptors in a very large numbers, with the Israel Ministry of Defense saying that the State of Israel has increased its defense spending for 2025 and 2026 to 42 billion new Israeli shekels, which is approximately $12.5 billion. During the 12-day war with Iran, there were multiple reports that Israel was running low on Arrow missiles interceptors defense system as Iran long-range missiles were seen hitting targets in Israel. Aerospace observers said the advanced Arrow high-altitude defense systems are critical to countering long-range ballistic missile threats, like those launched from Iran during the 12-day war in June 2025. According to the Israel Ministry of Defense in a press statement on Thursday, the Director General of the Israel Ministry of Defense, IMOD, Major General, Reservist, Amir Baram, signed a production contract to significantly accelerate the serial production of Arrow interceptors at IAI, Israel Aerospace Industries. As part of the deal, IAI will supply the IMOD with a significant additional amount of Arrow interceptors. The deal was led by Moshe Patel, Director of the Israel Missile Defense Organization, IMDO, within the ministry's Directorate of Defense Research and Development, DDRD. The Arrow system, developed and manufactured in cooperation with the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, MDA, demonstrated significant interception capabilities during the Swords of Iron War, especially during Operation Rising Lion. The system provides exo-atmospheric and endo-atmospheric interception capabilities against ballistic missile threats, protecting the State of Israel from strategic long-range threats. The Arrow system integrates cutting-edge technologies and is considered one of the world's most advanced air and missile defense systems. IAI is the prime contractor for developing the Arrow system and its interceptors through its MLM facility in partnership with the U.S. company Stark Aerospace. Other partners include IAI's ELTA and TAMAM divisions, Elbit Systems, TOMA, and Rafael Advanced Defense Systems. The U.S. Missile Defense Agency, MDA, is a major partner of the IMDO at the ministry's DDRD in the development and production of Israel's multi-layered defense systems, including the Arrow and David's Sling weapon systems, and the production of Iron Dome defense system components. The strategic cooperation between the MDA and the IMDO helps ensure Israel's technological edge in air and missile defense. Also on Thursday, Israel Aerospace Industries, IAI, in a statement said, Israel is reinforcing its defenses on all fronts, at full speed. In a major move to strengthen national security, the Ministry of Defense has signed a significant production contract with Israel Aerospace Industries, IAI, to fast-track the mass production of Arrow interceptors. This strategic step will significantly increase production and expand Israel's interceptor stockpiles, ensuring the country remains fully prepared for both ongoing operations and future long-range threats. The Arrow system, designed to intercept ballistic missiles outside Earth's atmosphere, proved its unmatched performance during the recent defense campaign, saving lives and preventing widespread damage. As the lead developer and manufacturer, IAI is operating at full capacity in collaboration with trusted partners in Israel and around the world. Together, we're not only protecting the present, we're innovating for the future. Israeli-based news media, Jerusalem Post, also on Thursday, reported that the Director General of Israel Defense Ministry, Major General Amir Baram, said that Israel will raise its defense spending by 42 billion new Israel shekels, which is $12.5 billion, this year and in 2026, the Finance and Defense Ministries said on Thursday, citing the country's security challenges. The budget agreement will enable the Defense Ministry to advance urgent and essential procurement deals critical to national security, the ministry stated in a press release. A long-term build-up plan starting in 2027 will be developed, per Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's instructions, to strengthen readiness and technological superiority against distant threats, the ministry said. Additionally, mechanisms for the oversight of the defense budget will be strengthened, according to the statement. The Director General of the ministry, Major General Amir Baram, said that this move would allow the Defense Ministry to replenish consumed stocks of weapons and ammunition. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, Defense Minister Israel Katz, and Finance Ministry Director General Ilan Rom all welcomed the increase in defense spending. The challenges ahead are complex, in distant and close arenas, against enemies who openly declare their intent to destroy us. For this, absolute military, technological, and operational superiority is required, Katz said. We had reported that shortly after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu returned from the United States, US on Sunday, where he had paid an official visit to the US President, Donald Trump, lawmakers and other US government officials, the misunderstanding between Bedouin and Druze tribes in the Swaida region of Syria that started last Friday took a new twist, evolving into a deadly conflict after a Druze man was robbed at gunpoint on Friday by gunmen suspected to be natives of Bedouin tribe. Druze residents in Swaida shortly on Friday mobilized, went after the people of Bedouin, arrested and detained a lot of natives from the Bedouin tribe, forcing the people of Bedouin to retaliate, and the conflicts led to mass killings, unabated. And on Tuesday, the Syria interim government soldiers entered Swaida reportedly to restore law and order, but Israel-based media reported that the Syria interim government soldiers, mostly members of the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, assisted and joined the Bedouin militias to kill the people of Druze, and in a swift response, the office of the Prime Minister of Israel, in a press statement on Tuesday, said, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Israel Minister of Defense, Israel Katz, have authorized the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, to attack Syria interim regime forces led by Syria interim President Ahmed Hussein al-Shara, who Israel Policy Forum, in a publication published in December 2024, stated that the new Syria presents fresh challenges for Israel, stating that the Turkey-backed Sunni jihadist group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, was an al-Qaeda's former Syrian branch, and its leader, Abu Muhammad al-Golani, also known as Ahmed Hussein al-Shara, who is the current interim president of Syria, was a member of an early version of the Islamic State, saying, Golani's chosen last name also foreshadows conflict over territory, that his family hails from the Golan Heights, which Israel partly occupied after the 1973 war and annexed in 1981, although President al-Shara in nationwide broadcast on Thursday after ceasefire began around 9 p.m. on Wednesday night said that the protection of Druze people is a top priority in his interim government, but he's not afraid of Israel that bombed the Syria military headquarters and the military base near Syria presidential palace in Damascus on Wednesday that led to the death of 5 persons in addition to more than 300 people killed. Less than a week the new conflict ensued.
Forças do Condemns, bringing you the news in a more digital way.
Shortly after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu returned from the United States, U.S. on Sunday, where he had paid an official visit to the U.S. President, Donald Trump, lawmakers and other U.S. government officials, the misunderstanding between Bedouin and Druze tribes in the Swaida region of Syria that started last Friday took a new twist, evolving into a deadly conflict after a Druze man was robbed at gunpoint on Friday by gunmen suspected to be natives of Bedouin tribe. This, Druze residents in Swaida shortly on Friday mobilized, went after the people of Bedouin, arrested and detained a lot of natives from the Bedouin tribe, forcing the people of Bedouin to retaliate, and the conflicts led to mass killings, unabated. And on Tuesday, the Syria interim government soldiers entered Swaida reportedly to restore law and order, but Israel-based media reported that the Syria interim government soldiers, mostly members of the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, assisted and joined the Bedouin militias to kill the people of Druze, and in a swift response, the office of the Prime Minister of Israel in a press statement on Tuesday said, "The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the Israel Minister of Defense, Israel Katz, have authorized the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, to attack Syria interim regime forces led by Syria interim President Ahmed Hussein al-Shara, who Israel Policy Forum, in a publication published in December 2024, stated that the new Syria presents fresh challenges for Israel, stating that the Turkey-backed Sunni jihadist group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, was an al-Qaeda's former Syrian branch, and its leader, Abu Muhammad al-Golani, also known as Ahmed Hussein al-Shara, who is the current interim president of Syria, was a member of an early version of the Islamic State, saying, Jolani's chosen last name also foreshadows conflict over territory, that his family hails from the Golan Heights, which Israel partly occupied after the 1973 war and annexed in 1981. Although President al-Shara in nationwide broadcast on Thursday after ceasefire began around 9 p.m. on Wednesday night said that the protection of Druze people is a top priority in his interim government, but he's not afraid of Israel that bombed the Syria military headquarters and the military base near Syria presidential palace in Damascus on Wednesday that led to the death of 5 persons in addition to more than 300 people killed. Less than a week the new conflict ensued. According to Reuters reporters, warplanes swooped low over the Syria capital and unleashed a series of massive strikes on central Damascus. The cityscape was blanketed in smoke with a thick plume rising from the defense ministry. "We are acting decisively to prevent the entrenchment of hostile elements beyond the border, protect Israeli citizens, and prevent harm to Druze civilians," the Israel Chief of General Staff, Lieutenant General Al Zamir, stated during a situational assessment at the Syrian border after the IDF strikes on Wednesday. The attacks carried out by Israel, this time on central Damascus, following its military interventions in southern Syria, constitute a deliberate attempt to sabotage Syria's efforts to achieve peace, stability, and security, Turkey government through the Office of the Foreign Affairs Ministry stated. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, had stated on Wednesday in a press statement that the IDF struck the entrance of the Syrian regime's military headquarters in the area of Damascus in Syria. The IDF continues to monitor developments and the regime's actions against Druze civilians in southern Syria. In accordance with directives from the political echelon, the IDF is striking in the area and remains prepared for various scenarios. On Tuesday, IDF said, following the directive of the political echelon, a short while ago, the IDF began striking military vehicles belonging to Syrian regime forces in the area of As-Suwaida in southern Syria. This follows yesterday evening's identification of Syrian regime convoys, including armored personnel carriers and tanks, moving toward the area of As-Suwaida in southern Syria. The IDF struck several armored fighting vehicles consisting of tanks, APCs, and MLRS, as well as access roads, in order to disrupt the convoy's arrival to the area. We continue to monitor the developments while remaining ready and prepared for various scenarios. One of the Druze people who crossed from the Israeli-occupied Golan into Syria, in a speech in the village of Haidar, was reported to have said, "I came here from the occupied Golan despite the Israeli occupation and its army. What these Takfiri gangs, the gangs of Ahmed al-Sharaa, are doing cannot be accepted nor tolerated. We hold the Israeli government and the United States responsible, because they are the ones who brought al-Julani here along with America, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. Netanyahu can stop the war within an hour. We don't ask for protection from Israel or anyone. We are protected by God." Syria President Ahmed Hussein al-Sharaa, in a televised nationwide broadcast on Thursday, said protecting Druze citizens is a priority while rejecting any foreign involvement. In his first televised statement after Israeli strikes on Damascus, he said Syrians must be defended without inviting chaos or destruction, saying, "Israel seeks to create chaos in Syria." President al-Sharaa accused Israel of trying to destabilize Syria, saying, "The Israeli entity seeks to turn our land into a theater of chaos. The Syrian people are always ready to defend the dignity." He claimed Israel intensified the situation through its actions, especially toward the Druze population. Since the regime's fall, Israel has aimed to dismantle Syria. "We have chosen not to be dragged into direct confrontation, to preserve national security," he added. Instead of retaliation, al-Sharaa announced that responsibility for local security would be given to tribal leaders and local factions. Office of the Prime Minister of Israel on Tuesday had said, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz have directed the IDF to immediately attack the regime forces and the weaponry that entered the Swaida area of the Druze mountain in Syria, and that the regime intended to use against the Druze, which was done in contravention of the demilitarization policy they decided on, of preventing the entry of forces and weaponry that endangers Israel in the southern region of Syria. Israel is committed to preventing harm being inflicted on the Druze in Syria, owing to the deep covenant of blood with our Druze citizens in Israel and their historical and familial link to the Druze in Syria. We are acting to prevent the Syrian regime from harming them, and to ensure the demilitarization of the region adjacent to our border with Syria. The Israel Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, in a recorded video statement on Wednesday, said, and in quotes, "My fellow citizens of the Druze region, the situation in Swaida, the situation in southwest Syria, is very serious. The IDF is operating, the Air Force is operating, other forces are operating. We are working to save our Druze brothers and to eliminate the regime's gangs. And now I have one request from you. You are a citizen of Israel. Do not cross the line. You are endangering your lives. You can be murdered, you can be kidnapped, and you are hurting the efforts of the IDF. And that's why I'm asking you, go back to your homes, let the IDF act." Haanet News, an Israel-based news media in details, reported that Syrian regime forces began withdrawing Wednesday evening from the predominantly Druze southern Swaida province following 5 days of intense clashes, Israeli airstrikes and mass cross-border movement of Druze from Israel into Syrian territory. The withdrawal was part of a ceasefire agreement reached between the regime and senior figures in the local Druze leadership. The deal, announced earlier in the day by Sheikh Yusuf Jerboua, a prominent Druze cleric, calls for the full integration of Swaida into the new Syrian administration. However, it also requires the regime's military units, which were involved in heavy fighting in the region, to pull out and allow local Druze forces to take over internal security. Local media reported that the pullback began around 9 p.m. under the terms of the agreement, which permits police forces affiliated with the regime to remain in the province and coordinate with local Druze security elements. A mechanism was also established to regulate possession of heavy weapons, aimed at ending their use outside of official state frameworks. Coordination with religious and community leaders was emphasized, with sensitivity to the social and historical context of the Druze majority province. The ceasefire followed reports of atrocities during the fighting, including summary executions of civilians by regime forces and allied Bedouin militias, public humiliation of Druze religious leaders, and the looting and burning of homes. A commission of inquiry is to be established to investigate these incidents. Sheikh Hikmat al-Hijri, the community's top spiritual authority in Syria, rejected the agreement outright, calling to continue the struggle until Swaida is liberated. He said there could be no negotiation, with the armed gangs calling themselves the government, and warned that anyone deviating from the unified community position would be held accountable. A prominent local Druze militia, the Men of Dignity movement, also opposed the deal and demanded a full withdrawal of all regime forces. After the martyrdom of our best leaders and fighters, the movement will defend itself until the last fighter able to carry a weapon, unless the invaders retreat from all villages and towns, the group said. Reports of Wednesday evening's withdrawal came shortly after the U.S. State Department called on President Ahmed al-Shara's regime to pull its forces out of Swaida, to allow all parties to de-escalate tensions. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed shortly afterward that an agreement had been reached, which he said could bring the crisis to an end as early as tonight. The agreement includes specific steps required from all sides, he said. This will require all parties to deliver on the commitments they have made, and this is what we fully expect them to do, a comment likely referring also to an end to Israeli airstrikes. Control over Swaida remains a central issue in the ongoing tensions. The province is home to Syria's largest Druze community, numbering about 700,000, and has long feared persecution under the al-Shara regime, which has been accused of seeking to return the Druze to pure Islam and dismantle their traditional way of life. In April, violent clashes erupted between Druze fighters and regime forces, resulting in more than 100 deaths. That round of fighting ended with a ceasefire in May, and since then Druze forces had maintained security control in the province. The latest round of fighting has so far claimed more than 300 lives, according to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. That figure includes 69 Druze fighters and 40 Druze civilians, 27 of whom were reportedly executed. It also includes 165 regime soldiers and 18 Bedouin militia members. The violence began late last week after Bedouin gunmen robbed a young Druze man from Swaida. In response, local residents detained several members of Bedouin tribes, escalating tensions. On Tuesday, as fighting continued, al-Shara's forces entered the provincial capital, claiming they aimed to restore order. But according to reports, they joined in the clashes and were involved in attacks against the Druze population. Druze leaders appealed to the international community, describing the situation as a campaign of extermination. Israel responded with a series of intensified airstrikes aimed at forcing Syrian forces out of Swaida. Among the targets was the Syrian military headquarters in Damascus, hit in a strike broadcast live on Syrian television, killing 5. A military site near al-Shara's presidential palace was also struck, and an Israeli military source told Reuters the attack was a direct message to the regime. Israel will not allow a military build-up on its border with southern Syria, and it will not allow the massacre of Druze in Syria, the official said. We have reported that the Israel Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has commended and praised the efforts of personnel at the Israel Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations, known in Hebrew word as Mossad, over the fall of Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria early December 2024, apparently corroborating the statement issued by the Iran Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, in late December 2024 that the fall of President al-Assad regime was a plan orchestrated by Israel and the United States, US, under the leadership of then-President Joe Biden. This, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the 68th session of the United Nations General Assembly on October 1, 2013, said that Iran directly participated in Assad's murder and massacre of tens of thousands of innocent men, women and children in Syria, used chemical weapons against its own people, and in 2010, the ousted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad had accused Israel of avoiding peace, and Syrian Foreign Minister Walid Muallim warned that in the event of a future war, Israeli cities would be targeted by Syrian missiles, an action Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu believed to be the underground work of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. He had accused severally of being the root cause of war in the Middle East, specifically stating at the 68th session of the UN Assembly that, some 2,500 years ago, the great Persian King Cyrus ended the Babylonian exile of the Jewish people. He issued a famous edict in which he proclaimed the right of the Jews to return to the land of Israel and rebuild the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. That's a Persian decree, and thus began an historic friendship between the Jews and the Persians that lasted until modern times. But in 1979 a radical regime in Tehran tried to stamp out that friendship. As it was busy crushing the Iranian people's hope for democracy, it always led wild chants of death of the Jews. Now, since that time, presidents of Iran have come and gone. Some presidents were considered moderates, other hardliners, but they've all served that same unforgiving creed, that same unforgiving regime, that creed that is espoused and enforced by the real power in Iran, the dictator known as the supreme leader, first Ayatollah Khomeini and now Ayatollah Khamenei. We had reported that in April 2025, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu traveled to the United States, US and held meetings with President Donald Trump, only returned from the official trip and intensified more aggressive military campaigns in Gaza and staged a military confrontation with Iran, which led to the killing of almost 1,000 Iranians in a 12-day war with the Islamic country. This, on Tuesday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his cabinet members that he will travel to the US next week to hold very important security meetings with President Donald Trump and the US lawmakers amongst others, while specifically telling the cabinet members that the details of the scheduled meetings are things he cannot reveal at the briefing. We had reported that the United States, US President Donald Trump has accused members of the Israel House of Assembly, known in Hebrew word as Knesset, of apparent politically witch-hunting the Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with corruption case President Trump had described as nothing but political witch hunt, saying the Knesset prosecutors should let Benjamin Netanyahu go, that he's a war hero who have worked with the US to eliminate Iran nuclear threats. And currently he has a big job to do with negotiations of peace deals with Iran and Hamas, stressing in a questioned manner how possible is it for the Israel Prime Minister to sit in court all day long. The Prime Minister lawyer had filed a 2-week delay of the case, citing national security demands following the 12-day Israel-Iran war, but the court sitting in Jerusalem rejected the application on Friday, and Benjamin Netanyahu, who has spent 20 years as Israel Prime Minister, was expected to be in court on Monday for cross-examination in the corruption case that started with police investigation in 2016 and the court trial commenced in 2020. But a report from some foreign media quoting the Prime Minister political party, Likud, a few hours ago indicated that the court on Sunday has postponed the case and cancelled it from holding this week. Similarly, some members of the Knesset had accused the Prime Minister of trying to use the regional war with Hamas, Hezbollah and Iran to secure an end to the corruption charges. We had reported that thousands of mourners on Saturday put on mostly black and black clothes and rallied from Engelab Square to Azadi Square in Tehran, the Iranian state capital, to honor the country's top military commanders, nuclear scientists, 4 little children and 4 women among the hundreds of people killed during the 12 days war the Islamic country had with Israel and the United States, US, with the mourners chanting anti-US and Israel songs while the Iran supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was not seen at the funeral, with reports indicating that he has remained out of public space and still taking cover in a well-secured hideout since, on Tuesday, the ceasefire between the two countries had been brokered. and the cynosure of many eyes at the state funeral ceremony was the arrival and appearance of two top senior Iranian military officers previously declared killed by Israel: Ali Shamkhani, senior advisor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, and Esmail Khani, commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC Quds Force, which Israel Defense Forces, IDF, had claimed to have assassinated with an airstrike on the 13th of June 2025 during the start of the Iran-Israel war. However, Iranian state media contradicted the IDF report on the 20th of June that the officials are still alive, and they were in stable condition after recovering from severe injuries from the strike. We had reported that the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has listed what the troops of Operation Rising Lions achieved in a 12-day war with the Islamic Republic of Iran, stating that Israel will now pursue the path of making peace with nations in the Middle East and compensate those that suffered damages, specifically stating that all the buildings destroyed by Iran ballistic missiles will be rebuilt anew by the Israeli government for the victims, adding that, without the immense achievements in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, and against the said terrorism in Judea and Samaria, Israel would not have been able to reach Tehran, made the statement on Tuesday evening after Iran President Masoud Pezeshkian announced an end to the 12 days tense and frightening military campaigns that the United States, led by President Donald Trump, took side with Israel and officially and openly got itself involved in the war on Saturday 2025 when U.S. special military troops flew several B-2 bombers fighter jets and attacked three Iranian cities of Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan with allegations that the Iranian nuclear facilities in the cities have been destroyed, allegations several media reports and authorities in Tehran have dismissed. But in retaliation to the U.S. invasion of the Iranian territory, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, IRGC, launched 6 missiles into Qatar on Monday with the intention to destroy a U.S. military base in the Qatari capital of Doha known as U.S. Al Udeid Air Base, but, according to Qatar state media, Doha News, all the missiles were intercepted. We had reported that the head of the Christian Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV, has appealed to all actors involved in the ongoing war in the Middle East and beyond to end the battles because, according to the Pope, war only amplifies or creates more problems, and no amount of military victory can compensate the pains of mothers, the stolen futures and the fear of children, emphasizing that war does not solve problem. We had reported that the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has commended President Trump of the United States, U.S. overnight attack the U.S. military for the first time for years carried out on Iranian cities of Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan, saying, like him and President Trump do say that peace comes through strength, the U.S. troops acted with a lot of strength while bombing the nuclear facilities in the 3 cities of Iran. We had reported that the United States, U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed that the U.S. military troops have attacked nuclear facilities in the Iranian cities of Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan on Saturday night, June 21, 2025, according to U.S. local time of Pacific Standard Time, PST, which was already early morning night on Sunday, June 22, 2025 for countries on Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, saying, the U.S. military attacks on Iran was completely successful as White House published photographs of President Trump and his cabinet members said to be watching the U.S. operations in Iran nuclear sites, although no authority in Iran has issued any statement over the attacks and some of the media in Iran are yet to give update on the conditions of things in the 3 cities, but an apparent military insider media of Iran Armed Forces, Daily Iran military tweeted that residents in the vicinity of Fordo reported no indication of a major explosion, while also adding that the deputy political editor of Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting, IRIB, was on live TV program in the station saying Iran has already evacuated 3 nuclear sites some time ago. This, Israel Defense Forces, IDF, earlier on Saturday night posted an aerial view recorded video of the Israeli troops bombing a location said to be Isfahan nuclear site facility. Said the Iranian uranium enrichments reconversion were taking place. We have reported that 22 persons suspected to be spies have been arrested in the Iranian province of with an apparent military insider media that operate with a verified social media handle, Iran Armed Forces stating that the 22 individuals were linked to Israeli intelligence services, and police authority in according to AFP confirmed the arrest of the 22 persons the police said are Israeli spies. This, Israel Defense Forces, IDF, in a statement issued on Saturday morning said that Israeli troops in a precise attack killed the commander of the Palestine Corps of the Quds Force, Saeed Azadi in We have reported that the India Ministry of External Affairs in a statement issued on Tuesday, says the government of India has moved India students in Tehran out of the Iranian capital city due to safety concerns following the continuous exchange of air bombardments between Israel and Iran, while at the same time, the government of India advised other citizens in Tehran that can afford their own transport fare to leave the Iranian capital city immediately, adding that some citizens of India have been evacuated out of Iran completely through the border with Armenia. The India Embassy in Israel had on Sunday advised persons of India origin not to move unnecessarily in Tel Aviv and they should obey safety instructions from the Israeli authorities and Home Front Command. We have reported that the ongoing military campaigns between Israel and Iran on Monday did not spare journalists as the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting, IRIB building in Tehran was hit by Israeli missile, with the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, saying that the media was one of the Israeli military targets to block the military communications of Iran Armed Forces, which the Iran Armed Forces immediately retaliated with ballistic missiles fired into Israel. And IDF in a statement issued late hours on Monday confirmed that millions of Israeli residents are currently running into bomb shelters with air raid sirens sounding across several places in Israel. A video currently trending on social media showed the TV host, Sahar Amami, fleeing the studio when the station was hit by a missile during a live broadcast. Although there are reports from Iran that the state media resumed normal operations minutes after the attack, but there are unconfirmed reports that some journalists were killed in the attack as part of the building was completely on fire. This international news agency, Reuters, put the total deaths recorded so far since the war began on Friday at 248, quoting Iranian source of Iran suffering 224 deaths, and Israeli source saying Israel has recorded 24 deaths. We have reported that not less than 100 persons, mostly civilians, have been confirmed dead less than 48 hours since, on Friday early morning night, Israel and Iran began new massive waves of offensive military campaigns that have forced commercial airplanes to avoid the troubled Middle East airspace as the two countries fly missiles of mass destruction in the air corridors, with local media confirming Iran ballistic missile killed 10 persons and injured more than 20 others at a single building struck at Bat Yam city in Israel as the angry Iranian soldiers launched a massive all-night continuous air bombardments campaign against the State of Israel that earlier on Friday began the new offensive military campaign when it flew fighter jets to strike Iranian military homes, nuclear weapon facilities, killing Iran nuclear weapon scientists, military leaders including Iranian Chief of Staff and Commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, IRGC, alongside almost 60 civilian death casualties. President Donald Trump of the United States, U.S. in a statement issued on Friday shortly after Israeli attack via his personal verified social media handle on his own Truth social media platform, praised and boasted about the military strength and capability of Israel, saying, "Things will only get worse for Iran because he gave them a chance to make a deal but they ignored the chance," adding with some level of mockery that the Iranian hardliners who spoke bravely are now dead as a result of the Israel attack on Iran, saying with emphasis that the US produces the best level military equipments anywhere in the world, and Israel already has a lot of the US military leather equipments, adding that Israel knows how to use the weapons and more will be giving to them, and in another statement issued also through the Truth social media platform on Saturday shortly after the unprecedented military parades to mark the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States Army, President Donald Trump threatened to unleash the full strength and might of the U.S. armed forces to attack Iran at a level never seen before if Iran dare attack U.S. in any way, shape or form, claiming that the U.S. had nothing to do with the Israeli attack on Iran. Reacting earlier, Iran Supreme Leader, Imam Saeed Ali Khamenei said Iran will retaliate Israeli attack with a strong response of no mercy, just as Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Israeli attack on Tehran on Friday killed military commanders, nuclear scientists, women and children, while wishing President Donald Trump and U.S. armed forces happy birthday on Saturday. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu alleged that Iran made an attempt to assassinate President Donald Trump twice, adding that Israel attacked the military and nuclear facilities in Tehran on Friday because Iran was building intercontinental nuclear weapons that could be used to destroy Israel and any other country in the world.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way. Bringing you the news in a more digital way.